Advantage one is diseases, permafrost health control, nourishing, and circulating human immunity, plus 25.4 of chemistry, permafrost, and loss of time, releasing bacteria, viruses, 2/3 disappear between 100, CM microbes, novel violence, humans now have no experience, antibiotic resistant, attack, causes extinction to zoonotic spillovers, biodiversity, class ruptures with the deadly organisms from IC, anthrax, kill thousands of reindeer, compatibility with viruses and hoods, 4-6 million microorganisms released each year, 1% cause major damage to a number of outbreaks, represent a marriage power drive, our extinction, even worse case models do not include entropy and zoonotic pathway, and the melting tuberculosis lakes are hot fluts or antimicrobial resistant pathogens, Celine 24, tuberculosis for permafrost line, harbor ABR, intrinsic ubiquitous pathogens not be detected due to different genetic makeup resistant to most drugs extinction. Well, the 24 concepts of the AMR circle, the cause dependence, divine challenge, human go because the AMR limited cause global death, or the way guided for the strategy existence by many different ecologies, or the AMR causes humanity by its of including resistance, conferring genes, constructing this AMR antimicrobial, integral components for issues that facilitates like the AMR premises keep prevent global security risks, including bioterrorism, test certified AMR, RBI, healthcare, damage to us, more or less, and illegal peace and Savannah, security, biosecurity, that's AMR urgency to secure healthier tomorrow, core biology, reality, grace, photograph, unrest, societal stability, urbanity, Asia, I don't do for terrorism, abstract aspect, apocalyptic biogeography, biohumanitarian governance, escalating geopolitical tensions, extinction, oxygen, O2 bioweapons, extreme continue survival, deterrence, get control, time on social release, good horrendous proportion, no new, cure, calamity, the control, relation, human extinction, the advantage to sustainability, permafrost, disrupts carbon and nitrogen cycling, 120 permafrost, carbon digestion cycling, backward, carrying nitrogen, increase CO2 nitrogen, on the iris and nitrogen feedback, increasing radio for your NOx, extinction, carbon 24, carbon cycle, too much, too little, too deadly, and there's also no future geological cycle, true, market surface, punch, internal, when you find the down cycle, big natural recycler, and mitigating artificial cells warming, vital 25 customers, direct for climate change, arctic storm fire, transfers, the global agricultural erosion, 7 key points, till the Earth's climate regime, thawing catalysts for electric feedbacks, release stored carbon massively into atmosphere, reserve policy climate feedback mechanisms, shortly to run feedback, extinction by 2030, no HT, floods, humans food zero migration, climate change by 2030, over adaptive capacity, regeneration, when natural feedback, to lose general hydrogen, still the currency capacity, droughts and floods, our world's airborne tipping, as loss of pollution, as safe on this, economic less than water, global history, rolling collapse, alright, it's key to biodiversity, key to global function, limit 25 artificial after that, romantic activity, unique includes more than 21 species, 120% of mammal species, 120% of fungi, essential function, productivity, ecosystem, food security, level well-being, and country ecosystem at risk, biodiversity loss, constitution, desalination, 24 world league, future generation, jeopardy, loss of critical ecosystem rates to help the economy, and global stability, biodiversity, elements, ecosystem, rapid plant, extra attention, future disaster markets, the agriculture, vulnerable and deadly fish stocks, people flee homes, destabilized countries, strain relations, coughing animals, headley joining the body, that's the plan needed to stop rewild, the Arctic permafrost, and the rewilding salts reintroduction for 22. Rewilding restore health, topical capacity, environmental modifying, habitat components, biography, high intensity human servants, huge about conditions, representing agricultural, significant vegetarian, gyres, declining comfort, reverse, increasing carrying capacity, retribution, cover resistance, Arctic consistently, Arctic engineering solution progressive, and more flight to than tender, enhance beta strengthening, restores reduced surface isolation, and enabling colder deeper winter soil free, increase evapotranspiration, promotes lower soil moisture, decrease water leak, reverse emphasis, increase nutrient cycle productivity, restructure aggressive forms, increase soil coverage surface and CCS, restoring stability for most species rewilding. It's a holistic approach that preserves the wild as non-human autonomy and paralyzes you. Tension is this between severe policy consequences and intensity comes out of new nature definition of cannot include biography, exclusion, reveal social dispatch, erratic human history, threatening identity strong, opposite resulting in benefit, rewilding human impacts and ubiquitous peace and response to exist due to climate change. Humans components exist for millions, wild species benefit for resources, interactive humans, unity, species, support, rewilding human influence, alternative conceptual decision, wild non-human autonomy, compatible with interdependence, human environment relationship, humans modify use of activity, moral literacy will even give about the value, economic stability, led to benefits to marginalized rural communities, and some benefits of physical coast rewild, only rewilding ensures scalability, sustainability, rather than one. Why rewild RTs and other additions to cultural margin, including geoengineering, rewilding, or organic scalable fuel for feed-forward cycles, insufficiently reflecting policies, climate movements, for all short rewilding, there's a non-linear dynamic, and amended type requires radical structure, legal certainty, consistency, transparency, are key, which options for oversight, transparency, key to open, clear, reveal, maintaining trust, requires enforcement must be comprehensive, partial right, according to legal principles, apply consistently, as well as policies, essential systems, preventive measures, policies are legal foundation, vital international cooperation, more much more coordinated, by legal agreements, questions effective for the opposite practices of resistance, public training, rewilding, ensure less food and more diverse biodiversity, environment compatibility with rewilding, marginalized community restoration, factors resistance, healthy ecosystems, centralized marginalized, and peoples, allies with environmentalism, the poor justice, social degradation, declining rewilding, community-based movement, experience and consistent condition of marginalized population, finally framing the meta-ethics, scientific realism, empirical stability, reproducibility of scientific realism, Russell 1, experience knowledge derived from them, I'm seeing a chain normal person comes to the science nature, experience comes to real from apparel, philosophy, there's real time, however, much sense data dependent on us as occurrence, scientifically, independently differing, different real, similar sense data of one person at a time, differences, subtle sense data of sense data, permanent object, competence, hypothesis, disability, urges, about the natural view, no good reason for judging, mediation, rules on this dependent on perception, natural phenomena, reduce emotion, we our eyes and ears and brain, using the use as an ancient plan is not dares to recognize its legitimacy, new intent, demands something, is what basic strategy movements and radical, working within the state of reformation, legitimacy, demands are made out to political order, the ecological question, opportunity, while highlighting inconsistency, fairness, truths, exhaustion, all 19, restore, fairness, heat up, burnout, surgery, make it for economic ritual stress, likely unfairness, policy system with burnout, and preceded from absent, organization, less control, as well as for not having a voice, but data must and service diversity, extinction is marketing, block about the roles, adults when I want to make sure issues, set keep up the club time to tell me, set extras, to mitigate how to serving each other, urging improve the communication of access to risk, exogenous are truly universal funding, or reservation to BCNC, process universally independent on the survival of humans in all the colleges in remains necessary to treat universal history, the how to kill levels of means, the job is too easy, including many of the claims universal extra beneficial rights that all the communities with source continue universalizability, this But directly just misplacing planetary concepts for epistemic strip of the natural world, plumbing 20, all physical facts to natural concepts, more facts that was said, never interest in the physical world, knowledge of physical systems, more facts not influence the physical world, hard to knowledge of self-suitability, necessities, value, and consequences, and arch 92 real touches from the ever possible, the ones who more, some reason more, fulfill, promising not with the grasp without starting my more, so there's no more reasons to start my more, since I do not promise to start my moral theory, recognize my self-suitability, claims properties for more reasons, center driven humanization, it's regressed to any moral framework, group all 22 exchanges about any moral theory, fellow humanity, marriage, all makes sense, and the political community rises, entire humanities, complaining, collective agent, makes sense, different shares, especially more humanities, all connection authority, long-term goals mean this without the generation, violates best of flow generation, no intent for safety, for safety, not intending for decision, if your responsibility reduces moral significance, consideration, waiting, state action, goal perspective, unless you're undertaking, high behind a distinction, governance with no social relationship, pursue teacher self-autonomous life, no reason, restrict your responsibility individuals. Defense underestimates permafrost and non-linear event trigger review models of the directional flood of thought, non-linear surface of cluster, so about the melting observables, and the electricity salinity, about the point of the non-linear rises, nitrification causes extinction in areas 15, nitrogen will find for some algebraic alternative consequence for preparing, visual security, direct for brighter for loss, and to reduce ecosystem resilience, by environmental issues, for making immediate action is necessary to limit cascading effects.
Okay. Different Ross.
Yeah.
How do you know that I exist?
What does it mean to exist?
I guess, yeah, that's a question for you probably too. You've defended the existence of the natural world
Okay.
in scientific realm.
Yeah. I think that using like the fact that scientific realism is true and justified by studies, sense data, the fact that people
we can talk about your Russell card. I think that the closest it gets is that we see the same chairs every day. How does that prove that like?
Yeah, because if it was arbitrary and we all had those distinct perceptions, we would not there would not be such a consistent interpretation of what we see based on our senses.
How do you know how illusions work? I don't know, it seems like just it could be a really consistent illusion of a real world. How does that disprove how does that prove the existence?
Because different people have different biology. So if that's true, certain people see illusions. And
the question is not about moral relativism. The question is how is the external world verifiable? How do we verifiably know that we are in this room right now?
Well, because we can construct the real from what we can see, right?
Wait, so
if there's a real table, I can touch it, I can feel it,
okay,
right?
But how is
all
that,
my senses align with the table.
But
if there's an illusion, for example, my senses wouldn't align with it.
How is it not possible that our senses are being deceived? You're saying that our senses prove that our senses exist, which seems to be obviously circular.
Well, no, it's not that our senses prove our senses exist. Our senses prove that a reality exists. Otherwise, you have to start with the opposite, right? If reality did not exist, it would not make sense for different senses on different people to come to the same conclusion.
Wait, so reality exists because there is at least some form of consistency in what we observe.
Yeah, which means there must be something independently different outside of us that is real.
Okay. Let's talk about trade-offs. What is the worth of
the fact that different the same person has the same sense data at different times.
I mean, that just means whoever's
the same sense data.
That means it's whoever's.
If we're being deceived, we wouldn't have the same sense data at different times.
I don't know. It seems like the evil demon is just locked in. But anyway, let's talk about trade-offs. What's the worth of one human being?
In what sense?
I mean, are all human beings worth the same?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess if it's under utilitarian calculus, it's kill 500 people, save 1,000. Seems like a pretty logical conclusion.
Under utilitarian calculus, yeah.
Yeah, under the framework you forwarded.
No.
Well, yeah, you've forwarded naturalism about preventing large amounts of deaths. That seems to be very much.
What?
The Alphas defended utilitarianism.
Not necessarily.
How is these affirmative distinct from utilitarianism? You've said scientific realism.
We said the extinction is bad.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
So is it not normatively justified?
What is that?
You have justified doing something because of an intuitive reason not to do it, not to do a normative reason.
Okay, I asked you to explain what normative reasoning is. You use normative reasoning to explain what normative reasoning is.
There's 3 minutes. We're 10 seconds over. Okay. The NC is set.
Do you want me to use my stick?
Yeah, that'd be good. Thanks. It's 4. Thank you. Oh, it's 3.
It's 3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, let me know when it's ready.
Is there like an order on case where I
It's
should
just
start?
framework stuff.
Oh, okay, on framework. Okay. Give me like 10 seconds.
Wait, actually, I need to take a second for that.
Here.
Updated counterplan text is sent. That's 16 seconds.
Just wait for that.
Just like that.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
Great.
Donald Trump ought to consume 200 micrograms of lysergic acid dihethylene by daily, secretly under licensed supervision and increasing doses until he experiences ego death into a binding meditation. And if the United States ought to rewild the Arctic permafrost zone after his ego death, Donald Trump ought to hire a licensed supervisor to administer representative. If Donald Trump displays any signs of a bad trip, the United States ought to make lysergic acid dihethylene a Schedule II drug under the Controlled Substances Act with the added condition for required licensed supervision. Donald Trump ought to receive a prescription for lysergic acid dihethylene. The United States ought to abide by the results of Donald Trump's meditation. He will meditate that the plan is a good idea. Ultra-specific neurological studies indicate ego death is you in tune with nature. Hitler at all 19. Egoism, growing disconnection between humans and natural environments linked to ecological destruction, possibly correlated with nature readiness, dependent on ego dissolution relevance for a current ecological crisis. Trump, ego death is try or die, safe, instant, prefer fMRI neuroscience from experts, Arian 17. Trump is an egomaniac, causes judgment through LSD. Trump created a new hole in his ego, deflating it instantly. Recent studies showing ego dissolution. Neuroscience studies reveal fMRI that LSD resulted in diluting the boundaries of individuality. Also safe to experience ego dissolution under supervision. Experience always passes to Trump, considering the fact that his ego seems to influence his perception of everything. He put the world back on track towards a brighter future. Extinction, Barber 25. Trump's historic comeback dispelled the greatest challenges for our time. Pandemic, climate change, nuclear change, render humans extinct. Trump's withdrawal, hamper collective action on climate gives comfort to other governments in the long run, as well as a globally catastrophic present dependent for nuclear briefsmanship and admins. Playbook will kill the testing the moon and open the door for nuclear powers, including China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea, to accelerate the nuclear arms with lack of understanding of critical rules in existential risk-pushing countries such as Japan or South Korea to acquire their own nuclear deterrent. It can be as ought, it should, and must. Very best for 25 synonyms to ought and must, should, have to, entertain at 25. Ought is the same as should, used in the same way as resolved as certain Oxford 20 resolved and firmly determined to do as should as must. Find law, 9 common meaning. Should conveys a command, not a permissive request authorized by the Supreme Court have been used in most trials without challenge. Should express expediency as imperative, should synonymous with must. Certainty deficits are the point. The should will show Trump the future, and it's the only way to know if the plan is truly a good idea. Luke 15. Parapsychology reported ESP experiences with the use of psychedelics, hypnosis, precognitive vision, Kennedy's assassination, year before service, and the example. Similar reports by conscious researchers, chemists, data anthropologists, and psychologists. Few published reports psychiatrists, illusions, researcher prejudice against ESP phenomena. Graph credited with the greatest expertise of his field for patients experience preconnection on a daily basis. Wealth reports attest to this occurrence at PSI phenomena with the use of psychedelics. Evidence 83% reported ESP experiences, most commonly precognition. Conventional policy blending fails. Try or die for ESP. Letter 10. Monkeys throwing darts outperform the vast majority of political button. The dialogue people who offer advice to political trends, ordinance, policy specialists, and intelligence analysts. He met for them with questions dialogue. Quantified 82,361 predictions. The vast majority performed worse than random chance. 96% in postgraduate training. Experts were convinced that they were right. Ignore all evidence suggesting that they were wrong. Leads to erroneous opinions. Experts claim that they were analyzing the evidence and only selective ignorance. Pundits speaking prisoners of their own preconceptions. Second off. The one is he desire to separate humans from nature is rooted in colonial dualism, Pickerel 24. Dualist approach to nature, evident in revolving separation between nature and society, results in evicting indigenous people under the guise of protections and connecting people in places, severs the place-based knowledge and perpetuates spatial distance. Colonial dualism disrupts reciprocal and racial responsibility, such as interference with other beings. An example of environmental injustice, Eurosocial wildlife management, same as land grabbed and violently extracting resources. Dualistic frameworks, racializing environmentalists reinforce white supremacy as the norm without actually speed up down the global north, coming under their white environmentalism, treats marginalized populations as expendable. White supremacy creates a problem in hills, backward solving access to land, produce value for settler desires to forbidden as property to save landscapes. That ideology is problematic and negative to reject it. Sterling 21. Notion of nature is separated by settlers recognize wildness with landscape as shaped by people rewilding seeks to remove the human impact of an imagined separation of nature and culture within the Western mind inhabitants of the need of removal deeply colonial and racist ideology. Framework evaluate the one is a research project centered innovate solely around the hypothetical consequence of interrogating justification, the assumption behind policy approach internalizing unethical research, guts accessibility, which outweighs denying is ultimately unfair because it makes engagement impossible and being used as a prerequisite for any debates benefits to matter independently. Invoking framework is also independent link consisting of way in the case to its real approximate impacts with a hypothetical plan everyone knows will never happen. That alone trivializes suffering, which is violent. Ball wins as offense for us. Logic or impact hydrox every reason why fairness matters, including accessibility, link strength, control, larger internal links to burnouts is physical. Exhaustion is more tiring than procedural exhaustion. Racism is literally felt, but fairness is intangible. One, some information debaters will never personally pass the plan in the real world, but the countless hours they spend prepping and debating will change their beliefs system from neuroscience, biological dynamics, theory that we choose to ignore. The doors are the ways of thinking to be internalized by AC21. Pattern in neurological dynamics, introsending motor coordination, the more boring, the more likely to repeat they become unstable, their actions no voice everything towards modulated by schemas for engaging cell-maintenance against hegemonic existence for permanent environment, mental social resources, individual actors describing certain modes of experience, mythology, others modifies neurobiological dynamics, ways of thinking are internalizing and active performance, their due assessment is better or worse, to the natural represents the role chosen to acquire, how to find community they feel to behave, they will distinguish those who internalize develop position or participate and correct those who don't. To the ballot, AF debate is a game that's constitutionally shaped by how he plays, Agora 9. Games are negotiable, give educated on construction limits that depth on particular trajectory according to involved participant referees become strategic elements and achieving greater communal element, which make game space of competition generally tied to argumentative narrative enable the competitive dynamic to its racers that slightly set so many rounds over time impossible to separate victory from social practice in the game build out of disputes. Being normative social period of isolation and chaotic case will depend on comprehensible 20 years ago, but individual decision normalize them into alternative accounts lack explanatory power. C. Golden rule unconditionally reject racialized practices that require for you to be 100% act against its ethical black and the matter of Joshua representing the single there's no recourse for racism in debate voting 90% refuse to not hold racists accountable to first casually solves. 3. Epistemic friction is that epistemic friction which with alternative perspectives is key to change the community's practices and habits. No base 24. Epistemic retention are mutually incompatible with creating conflict controversy gave rise to epistemic friction that change people's practices and habits, mortalizing agents and change the epistemic mode through interaction with another beneficial to address injustice only by making a Rubik contestation and diversity democratic communication. We expect an institution to reflect diversity communication across differences is productive discourse in which a position are compared and contrast and empowerment for those who told or inherently inferior concrete location educational institution through which a resistance is implemented. Through off, util hijack. The standard is consistent with skeptical theism, Cartesian circle, only God can stop the evil demon philosophy, Tribus summarizes Descartes 16. Whenever I perceive clearly to see the true evil that the demon hypothesis, even if things appear and distinct created is effect nature plus 3 equals 5, the existence of a God who is supremely perfect, we can say not the evil demon, the consistency in the world is not to disprove the evil demon, it just means the evil demon is really, really good at decepting us. Negate 1, God is at Lewis, 70 utilitarian degrees of goodness, if correct then God is the greatest good, God is utilitarian, God has to bring about the greatest happiness. 2, optimism, pretending no day God created the existing world, God could have created a different world or another world, God omnipotent, omniscient, they knew which world was the best and created they is omnibenevolent, they chose the existing world, the best of all possible worlds, and no world and God would not have created any, but they did because of interconnectedness, and any world does not contain evil, will not necessarily contain greater evil, divine standard, diverse from ordinary conceptions. 3, skeptical theism, it's all a part of God's plan. Parent question 17, skeptical theism purpose there's divine human gap in which we should not expect to grasp the purposes behind God's precluding knowledge, and not precluding knowledge of God in his epistemic humility, the grasp of God's plans, we should not expect to grasp the goods which leads to divine acts. Case. Util is morally repugnant. 3 or 4 warns that each independent links one atrocity justifies allowing them to harm some for the benefit of others. 7 seeks to ensure wrongness. You can call anything intrinsically wrong stated on the outcome of the action. 3 ableism. Utility values individuals who can't experience pleasure in playing like individuals with anhedonia. Brody 20. Anhedonia is the inability to feel pleasure. And yeah, you can cut 4 onwards. Cool. So keeping Tom wiped out.
Alright. Status of the counterplan.
Conditional.
Cool. Where does it say that, like, what's the warrant for why Trump will meditate that the plan is good?
Well, we have 2 arguments. 1, we think that is most likely he will meditate that the plan is good.
Like, can you pull a line?
Yeah, it's the literal first part we read. That egoism makes you more connected to egoism, makes you more in tune with nature. So a policy about rewilding would be along
Why
that
is
track.
rewilding in tune with nature?
I mean, we've made an argument that rewilding is, at least how the AF forwards it is an environmental policy, and that if it is an environmental policy about protecting the environment, then Trump would be in tune with it.
Okay.
2, we've made the argument that certainty deficits are net offense.
That's fine. The egomaniac stuff, is this is this like a unique net benefit to the process of the counterplan, or is it a reason the plan is bad?
It's about the counterplan. I guess it's 1, a reason the plan is bad, because if Trump didn't ego death and we did the plan, then Trump makes extinction inevitable. But 2, it's also a reason why the process of the counterplan is good.
Why does it cause extinction?
It's that Trump's egomania is doing things like destroying all climate regulation, is getting us is accelerating the nuclear arms race, etc., which leads us down the inevitable path of Trump kind of setting the world ablaze. That's the
Wait,
Barber
why? The Barber Code doesn't talk about egomania. Like, why does it?
No,
Where does
okay,
it
so-
egomania itself?
Yeah, the Azarian card makes the claim that due to Trump's egomania, we see him acting in this sort of like extreme way, and that reducing ego would make him a more empathetic human being, which solves for the extreme things he's
Where
doing.
you said the reason that he does these things is because of empathy. For example, you
Yeah,
could think that it's
our
in the
argument-
United States' interest to be empathetic towards
okay.
American people.
So no, the argument is that Trump is acting. That's like this is in the Azarian card. That the reason Trump acts in the way he does is due to his extreme
Can
self-obsession.
you pull lines like quotes? I feel like that would be a lot more effective because you said the way Trump acts and the way he was. What does that mean? There's a million ways he acts.
Wait,
in
we
what
talked about how his
particular
ego
ways.
seems to influence his perceptions of everything. We're certain that he would put the world in back track
Yes,
towards a better
but-
future if he had an ego death. This is a claim that the reason Trump is doing all these erroneous acts is because he is so self-obsessed. I mean, like the fact that like Trump will just like have like the Saudi prince pull up and won't even say that and won't even condemn anything he does because like, oh, it's getting my family rich and like I look tough with a prince. Like that is the thing that we're trying to avoid.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The like the Cartesian circle stuff. Where does it say that the evil demon hypothesis is true?
Our argument is that the only way you could possibly disprove the evil demon hypothesis is due to the existence of God. So the fact that if the natural world is verifiable, then God exists.
Right, that's fine.
If the natural world is not verifiable, then
I will take this. Okay, I took 35 out of 70.
right, I'm downloading it. I don't need like a new sheet, right?
No.
Okay.
What's your?
It's gonna be case, the advantage one, then the, I'll extend the advantage, and then I'll answer the util K, that'll be on case, then the, Trump counterplan, the critique, and then the guidance.
Okay. I
can get.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Okay, cool.
Consider rewilding souls disease by preventing multiple organisms, extinction through spread of novel pathogens, and nuclear retaliation by Trump and enemies that spells and escalates, also causes immediate extinction because of virulence that causes death with the which is 100% drop. No use, okay, one, no atrocities, or requires you saying that atrocities cause more pleasure than pain. You should also reject this. Every firm agreement has a technical thing that it justifies in holding us to epistemic purity as possible. Two, maintaining zero wrongness, bad consequences are intrinsic to an action because there are reasons we pursue them. Also, there's no impact to this. Every reason we care about things is because they have negative consequences, which means this is an incomplete argument. Three, no ableism. We didn't say pain or pleasure. We said extinction outweighs, which is distinct from utilitarianism, which gets made very clear, which means you just do not link to the utility whatsoever. The process can one, permeability shields, or links to that benefit to per the counterplan, then the plan, PTO, and term for reflection, also not intrinsic to the counterplan sequences planes. That means sequencing is a mandate that can be repeated, otherwise the counterplan's process is incoherent because you should assume that all the planes happen immediately at the same time, which makes the process not solved. From other issues, not intrinsic, only permutes the mandate that Trump does something, and there's do not function, it solves their offense, and it's key to not shift the debate in Afghan because there are infinite processes. The zone no date, the zone is a summer camp in upstate New York, this sort of India, sort of 18 2 something that happened immediately, so right the second word to 03, immediately near, equals should it survives when that's where 16 is should is not imperative of obligation to work on the
coercive compulsion of recommendation on a mandate result is immediate result delivered by PT9 result that was above. Trump strengthens alliances over 24 NATO, US Congress, Japan, Israel, the Arab governments recently. Strengthening Trump as a precedent. Trump's foreign policy accurately understood his action. The shortcomings of Euro international in Washington's President Eastern Morris, Europe, rallying the peace, who restricts human and commentary for given that the majority becoming constitutional ruling and voting bloc holds some sway. The Congress will be out of approach. There's a good number of conservatives leaders who understand that need to confront climate change. They'll be able to convince others to embrace smaller policies. Certainty is key. Hesitant, legit, guilt, sufficiency, legal standing, public perception, and international cooperation. Actually, according to the plan that's in reference to 24, Luke is wrong about Trump, but are deficit of the effect of the campaign efforts implemented among allies and people, etc., which means the card doesn't matter. Predictions work, it links to them because Lyra does not say the counter plan uniquely solves, you should ignore it, and it bets its probability, or they dropped 100% risk of the case, which means it's also, which means the case is true. Also, 10 to the power of 19 pathogens gets released per day, and only 1% in the search sugar. Major environmental damage, which is why MDC is key in sort of reference, cancel nitrogen, MDC is key in brand, has going to be effects because the events get worse over non-linear. The plan solves nitrogen by preventing permafrost thaw, which releases nitrogen in the environment, kills nitrogen. Also drop the eco collapse and warming, are also non-linear, which means every marginal delay makes solving impossible triggers tipping points, which make impacts are irreversible. Legality is key to preventative and mitigation strategies to solve disease and restore ecosystem policies need legal foundation for international cooperation and coordination, which is key to our impact. No spillover, no retail policies spillover, said no overpricing for their process, net benefits, no marginal bad process footer, since the action to make nutrient cost blockers, until that she for conditionalities and what she said, and remake sure obviously leads her, which reach for going into nuances, outer actual ones, all of solves. The K is also considered for internal justifications, but it's bidirectional. The 1T and 1T are also research sources. When it linked to the 1T is sufficient to affirm no link, the plan does not minimize human actions. It allows consumptive use of nature. That's primarily, that means it's not nature, it's separate from humanity. This is especially true because their card says it assumes the quote absence of human touch, a circumvention, any other definition. Ensures immediately rollback, which stops often to sort of fairness classroom sort of reference. The meta studies primarily is the only card that takes into account every potential definition and does comparative analysis, conclude that ours is best and sort of reference seems to be a possibility. Pure environments are possible because they're anthropogenic. Like since means their definition of logical use independently means every absolute presumption in sort of reference. And deep people use the definition makes theirs irrelevant. Box 24. Regardless of our last definition, any intervention, and George will look along the benefit of wildlife people, competition, resilience, good reason, based on single rules, arguments in the religion of rational evaluation, arguments which invites bias, another six religious feels evoke, emotion makes it difficult to make logical judgments, subjects when they revolt religious feels, influence jurists, when other churches will be the most commonly used in real life trials, related to religious feels, or jurors, or probably accuracy of mitigators, use scientific realism, that takes out the evil demons of God, and see one common sense to people who were similar sensitive, which shows shareable knowledge, most philosophers agree with this, i.e. seeing a red table, two simplicity, policing real objects, is a simpler hypothesis than claiming everyone identifies private hallucinations, which hypothesis says it's key because that's how we determine things. 3, scientifically proven physical science, reliably explains sensations, i.e. color caused by light rays reaching the eye, but it is by assuming a real physical world structure, by saying we prove God's existence, it's possible sugar 11 bronze, also very entirely persuading different is proving theologians have seen different long use whatever, of the God can see different kinds of and deal with different powers of qualities, and you can see induced isolation, drugs, fantasy, but had no humanism, God, and assembly, discrimination, different kinds of God, but assuming counter that they are for all of those in every remedy, God does not exist, probabilities overlying all sides, doctrine 6, agnosticism, over questions, they never be access to question exists on different plane beyond the zones, where evidence can reach ultimately theological decision of how this is causes and the hypothesis does not exist, have exactly equal probability of being right, either he exists or he doesn't.
Okay. Flash drive. Voters besides processing comment that.
I don't think it.
Okay. Wait, was there a framework intro on the K-page?
I conceded yours. Or I conceded the framework justification, but said it's bi-directional.
Oh, and it was like no link.
Yeah.
Was there a link to it, right?
Yeah. The arguments appealing to religion, Miller 6.
Oh, okay. I understand. The order is going to be the the voters on the counterplan, and then it's going to be the God and C.
So condo process and
then God. Yeah.
Alright. Sounds good.
Wait. Sorry, I said like 1,000 actually. One second. Okay.
No new cards?
New cards.
Limitless condo is good one logic. They're not advocacy. They test intrusiveness of the advantages. They test the intrusiveness of the advantages. They get a plan. We get everything else. If you won't vote for too many dissads, you can't vote for too many counterplans. Too innovation. The counterplans apex better than prevents poor after reproduction. Debate ecosystem condo naturally forces plan T and internal link warrants. It produces better. Debate 3 processing counterplans. Q forces rapid info exchange and assessment skills. Essential. New algorithm information age 4 defense group planes after warrants add-ons and more speed differentials. Make they're often inevitable, but hard debate is good. Forces strategic choices to have a high threshold for theory. Otherwise, trades off with substance 5. RTA solves any students counterplan disappears. They get their offense, and we love time 6 reasonability. Committee get recently substance covered by letting major infractions that end the day don't, but after we didn't make the debate impossible. We had 3 off-case positions. Dispositionality doesn't solve since it encourages the 2AR to monopolize on 2AR strategy, and the standard for dispositionality is infinitely arbitrary and is contrived and round, which means it's never a predictable standard that anyone can meet. It's always going to be tailored to what the AF wants, which makes the gating impossible. Process counterplans are good. One logic to get the plan to defend every component. Any limit on negation is self-serving and arbitrary. 2 neg flex get infinite pressure to plan. The advocacy process counterplans keep the in the game theory division. Debates are better when they have to justify their mechanism. Make unique plan key wars for defense signal deficit impactors. Certainty enemies are illegitimate based for competition. 5 reasonability theory trace topic education and debates over minute violations, especially when their 1 AR against the counterplan was brilliant. 6 RTA. Their offense indites the counterplan. God. Not repugnant. 1 links to that. We said that their framework relies on a GCP, which means they have also implicitly defended a GCP by virtue of ignoring the evil demon hypothesis. 2 util is more repugnant. A justifies violation consent, which opens or solves genocide, slavery, and all the name of the greater good. B is ableist transitivity and productivity, which is eugenic. Also, the 1 AR said in the response to the util indictments that indicts of a framework justifying atrocities is bad because it goes both ways, which means that if believing in God justifies atrocity, it made a framing argument as to why you don't evaluate those arguments in this round. In the 1 AR, B3 no link. A false narrative. We haven't endorsed atrocities. Just said that the plan is bad. They defended the UFCG, which carried out genocides and slavery, which concedes that evil actors can still do good things. Not regarded as the devil cause violence. The God who sought to end is worth presumption. Paternalism. Many of the people in atrocity were Christians, paternalistic, colonial, for to assert that you know better than people who maintain their faith through hardship. Religious arguments are good, but also our argument is not religious. It's secularly justified. That's a distinction for understanding the God. We have not made a claim that God is real due to some deep devotion, which is what their card says is problematic. We said that scientifically
scientifically, the external world has proven that God exists, which means that if God 100% exists, this IVI about relying on religion as a crutch and denying the real world obviously goes away because God is 100% real. Proper. The Cartesian circle. Premise 1, an evil demon could be deceiving us. Everything we know equally could be the result of deception, including math, history, the very experience of us being in a debate round. Premise 2, the only thing that could potentially stop an evil demon would be a GCB that is capable of stopping all demons requires not only God, but the most powerful God. Premise 3, we aren't being deceived. There's no evil demon that is deceiving us. The one is he made truth claims about the censored world, and we are all in the debate round together. The only way to know for certain that the GCB stopped this demon, otherwise it would trigger skepticism, which triggers permissibility. Conclusion, since we aren't deceived, that means the GCB exists. GCB can only negate, that negates. The best possible God would create the best possible world. That's one, and see optimism. The plan goes against God's plan. That's definitionally immoral. Which is definitionally immoral. The argument is very, very simple. Either A, we are being deceived by the evil demon, which means you negate because their offense in this round relies on the assumption that the external world is true and knowable, and if the external world is not true and knowable, then you gate on permissibility because you cannot form any type of moral obligation. Or B, the only reason that we know the external world is real is that God exists, and we're winning that God is negates because that wasn't contested. That ways extinction, no reason why human life matters. Extinction to be a part of God's plan is definitionally immoral. B, God can create new life post extinction. C, magnitude human is defined by GCB is infinitely good, which non-unique to their offense. To deny God's existence means accepting the evil demon hypothesis, which denies existence of every atrocity that they cited, which is more repugnant. So also answers the IVI and also zero their offense, because if evil demon did exist, then we wouldn't be able to verify whether we know the world is accurate, which means they're caught in either or situation linked to them, except their framework relies on GCB, which means they've also implicitly defended the GCB by virtue of ignoring the evil demon hypothesis. They also drop that God is a utilitarian, or they're going to try to lie to you and say that no, we're not util, we just think extinction is bad. There's no functional difference, just that God would also say that we should save the most lives as possible, which means that if God was repugnant, that means also indict their framework. No impact, repugnancy, objections, or circular and backwards appeals to some external ethical framework gain moral weight, which isn't relevant. We are winning that our framework is true. It means we can't alone be offense because it begs the question. Now, every single argument that they've made about God not existing is filtered out. We have not read an argument. We have not read any of the fine-tuning arguments, etc., as to why God exists. We've just made a logical claim that has only two possible realities. Either one, skepticism is true, which means you obviously know you're negating. If they come up and say, oh yeah, well, it can see the skepticism true, you know you negate because that proves the absence of a possible moral obligation to do the affirmative. Or two, God exists, which resolves the evil demon, which is the only way to know that the external world exists is the existence of an evil demon, which means that we don't actually have a burden of proof of proving God true. We're just proving that you know that we are here in this room right now. We're here in this room right now. God exists, which answers every single argument they made. I'll go back to, I guess, the IVI more. Okay, again, the argument that religious appeals evoking emotions is violent is relevant when the negative is not forwarded a religious appeal. We have not said that vote negative for Christianity or vote negativism for Judaism. We've said vote neg because there is an all-powerful being that must logically exist. There has not been any emotional appeal in this round, which means that there is no IVI they can go for in this round, which means that we have one that you should negate because God would not do the ath, and even if you evaluate that under the K framework that's conceded in this round, we have both agreed that extinction is the worst possible, that the death of people is the worst possible impact, and God that God knows the most pleasurable or best for people world in possible existence is the current world, or else God would have done the ath, because they conceded that God is itself a utilitarian. So you can understand this as a util hijack.
Starting.
order is going to be the case advantage, then the case advantage, then the util case / competency stuff.
Case theism.
Huh?
Case theism.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Rewilding solves disease by running milk ordinance and that causes extinction of this amount of malcontents. It affects every single person on Earth and causes extinction 100% drop. You know that extinction outweighs because it loses up to the possibility of humans doing anything in the future. And it's a reduction of life and agency of every single human being, which means it necessarily outweighs. If I win that the scientific world and the real world do exist, that means that their offense is 0 because it proves that God does not exist, which means that a risk of offense for affirmative offense should be sufficient to affirm. Now, let me make this really clear to you. The 2 hour was a lot of basically no lab it was a lot of explaining things about God, but did not answer any of our specific arguments. I know it was probably very confusing to you, but let me make it clear for you. They've relied on an argument that this contradiction that A, either God exists or B, skepticism is true to win this debate. Every answer to God is false that Isaac made was that B, skepticism exists even if God doesn't, which means he does not answer that God itself doesn't exist, and has hedged all his bets on the fact that if God does not exist, then skepticism is true, but does not justify that in the 1C or the 2 NR. Also, I will concede there's no impact or repugnancy to get any other of those things. There's no reason why there was any sort of drop to the debate or warrant or reason to reject the team, and I'm not accepting any of the framework offense. Now, the utility stuff, number 1, drop that there were no atrocities, that this is not an IVA, because it requires you to say that those atrocities cause more pleasure than pain. I'm saying if we were utilitarianism, which we are not, it would require you saying that atrocities like slavery cause more pleasure than pain, which is just wrong. Number 2, they conceded that every single framework has a technical thing it justifies, and holiness and epistemic purity is impossible and bad. 2, the ableism stuff is wrong. They conceded that we just did not justify pain or pleasure, which is what this relies on. Always said is life and death, which people all do, and anhedonia does not disprove that because that has nothing to do with life and death, but pain and pleasure. Now, God certainly does not exist. They concede that humans will never have the cognitive capability to directly understand anything with infinite powers or qualities. Those experiences can be easily induced by meditation, isolation, drugs, falling asleep, or blows to the head, and that no human has the cognitive capacity to understandably distinguish a genuine encounter with God from a pseudo encounter. The only answer to this was he has to exist if the external world is fake. But this is new and just not true. And again, as the 1NC said, an evil demon could exist and be controlling us, even if the external world does not exist, and God still would not exist, which means that you should vote affirmative on a risk of case because they've not won that an evil demon would like the plan. Look, there was just no actual war for why God exists, and yes, you do need to win God exists, because even if the external world is false, it does not mean that God automatically exists. But also when the external world does exist, they dropped every war for scientific realism. It takes out every single one of their index. They dropped 1, common sense, that different people who are similar sense data at different times. The combination of those things shows that public objects, and most philosophers agree, I seeing a red table at different times so that there is some sort of external reality, external from our perceptions. 2, drop the weight argument of simplicity. Posing real objects is a simpler hypothesis than claiming everyone generates identical private hallucinations, and they dropped that our court concedes that, quote, even if it's not logically impossible, there is no reason whatever to suppose that the external world hypothesis is true, and it is a less simple hypothesis, and the common sense hypothesis comes first, because that is how we determine things. We determine things by how we think that how simple they are. If there's 2 explanations for something, and one is more simple, then we do it, which is the weight argument. They just dropped. Also, they dropped that it's scientifically proven. Physical science reliably explains sensations. They dropped that colors caused by light rays reaching the eyes assume the physical world structured by space and motion, which means scientific studies have disproved every single one of their claims. Now, the God is utilitarian thing is the last thing I have to cover. This our framework takes this out because our framework is quite literally that extinction outweighs. Either A, God agrees that extinction outweighs, you should vote A because God would agree that extinction outweighs, or B, God does not agree that extinction outweighs, which means util is not the same as extinction outweighs because they're 2 distinct frameworks, and this cannot operate as a framework or as a hijack. Sorry. Good debate.
Good.